and welcome back to another guest episode of Straight from the Drafts. Today we are joined by Fran. Hello, Fran.
Hello, Leo.
Another fellow Marrakech Yaycator. I don't know what the right word is for that.
Yeah,
Yaycationer? Yaycationer.
Yaycation.
So, yeah, another shout out to Yaycations on this episode. Fran, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone listening?
Yes, I will. So my name is Fran, and I am from Therapy with Fran, imaginatively named. So I'm a proudly neurodivergent therapist and coach. But I'm also a bit of a creative past before I became a therapist and then a coach. I'm a cat lady, which was brilliant for our YK. I'm also a parent and step parent to three teenagers. And we have a fully neurodivergent house. Me, my kids, and my partner, we're all neurodivergent in various flavors, I guess you'd call it. So I work with often late diagnosed people that come in, whether they are like self-identifying, whether they recently had a diagnosis, whether they're like questioning like might I be neurodivergent. And it tends to predominantly be AuDHD, which is what my experience is. And often they start with like coming in with one thing they suspect, and quite often there's multiple pieces to the puzzle which we kind of explore. And typically they tend to reach out when they are going through a bit of a transitional stage in their life, whether it's because of diagnosis, whether it's because they're sort of reflecting on their life and thinking, actually, there's some stuff I'd really like to talk over here. And they're often looking for someone that kind of understands from the inside what it's like to be neurodivergent. And sometimes there's a lot of imposter syndrome, like I think I might be, but I'm not sure. And that's why I've also added coaching as well. So I also work with access to work clients. So there's like a funded route to work with me too. But I absolutely love the work, and it is like I will talk to anybody about neurodivergence. And so this is brilliant to like actually get my voice out there, because I've been in kind of hermit mode for a long time. So people can find me via my website or by my counselling directory listing, but I'm not anywhere else at all. So this is me kind of like emerging into the world a little bit more.
Love it. And it's so, I feel like it's a really unique combination. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like often people are either a therapist or a coach, whereas you do
Yeah.
have both, which is, I think, quite unique.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more common now in terms of people starting to recognize different approaches.
Hmm.
And some people come in as a therapist, some people come in as a coach and then want to sort of bring in other skills. They're kind of complementary skills in some ways. But for me, I think I was kind of naturally coaching people back when I had like a creative business. That was what I really enjoyed, really supporting people to, like, a cheesy line, but like live to their potential, not be held back by like imposter syndrome and sort of thinking they weren't good enough, because there's so much. I love working with people who are like in small businesses themselves as well. So there's like a really lovely link between, I think people really, without going on millions of tangents, because I was well, I think there's something really nice about people that work for themselves, because that's kind of a self-discovery journey as well. So
100%.
I think, yeah, it's just like, I love that. I love really supporting people with that. So the coaching gives me a little bit more of a like strategic way of working with people, in terms of like they'll come in with something specifically they want to work on, whereas
Mm.
therapy is much more like I prioritize long-term work. So people have a space for as long as they want, which is kind of the opposite of what happens in things like working with a therapist through the NHS or charity settings. And I
Mm.
really know myself, having spent a lot of time in the client chair, not just in the past, but always, because I think it's such an important part of our, self-care, self-development. But I've forgotten my point now. Typical fashion. Where was I going?
Doing coaching and therapy long term.
Yes, that's it. So with the long-term piece, I think I really love building relationships with people over time. And sometimes when people are ready, they're starting to be curious about actually moving into coaching. So I'm starting to explore that, what happens when you've been in therapy for a long time, and you've really worked on lots of different things, and you've kind of really started to trust yourself, which is a lovely kind of like link to this podcast. That self-trust thing is so important. Then people are starting to think, actually, maybe maybe coaching is what I need now. So I'm starting to play with how do I transition clients between them if that's what they want. And also sometimes people who come in for coaching, like, is there something after that that I can offer? That's another thing I'm kind of playing with. And that's what I took to the AK with me, was like, how do I start to explore things which are, you know, not just one-to-one, which is like my sweet spot. I love one-to-one working, but I think there's something about community spaces and there's something about those in-betweeny spaces where bringing people together that are in a similar kind of experience, I think that could be really valuable. So that's kind of the edge of what I'm exploring now, as alongside my one-to-one work.
Yeah. And I feel like, I know you just kind of touched on it, having this podcast with the theme of self-trust stories is really fun, but it's almost like self-trust inception because you help other people to develop that self-trust, whereas today we get to hear about your experience with it and your most recent experience with it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, on that note, where would you like to start your story? Is there any context we might need?
Yeah. So given the space, I would probably tell you every single detail for like years in advance, but I know that we don't have that much time. So essentially the way where it starts is just with the context that I'd not traveled for 19 years before I went to Marrakech. As I said earlier, I'm a parent, and the whole time that I've been a parent, I have not left the UK at all. And I had quite a lot of anxiety about traveling, and I think some of that comes with being a parent, where you start to think about things perhaps slightly differently. Your brain actually goes through a whole different process of matriescence, where you're reforming your brain, which again is another tangent. But essentially, I think I just really lost my confidence in traveling, in leaving the country, in leaving my roles behind, my caring roles, kind of choosing myself and what I wanted. The way it happened was just before my birthday in April, an email popped in from Mary saying there's one spot left on this Yaycation to Marrakech. And I was like, suddenly told me, like, I have to go. I have no idea how I'm going to go, but like, I have to go. There's just something here. And it wasn't like a kind of fear-based, oh, I'll feel really bad if I don't go. It's more like, no, I actually have to go there. Like, I don't know how, but I have to go. So then I spent a couple of days like struggling with like, oh, you know, can I justify it? Should I go? Like, how scary is it going to be to actually get on a plane?
Hmm.
I've not been in a group of people more than like family. Well, it's probably since lockdown. So actually being with 6 other people, that was a big kind of hurdle to sort of overcome. Um, and then gradually over the few days, I was like, do you know what? This won't leave me alone. But I have to make this happen. So I think it was on my birthday, I'd gone out for lunch, and at the start of the day, I was like, oh, I can't go because I've got clients booked that week. I've got my kids are coming to the end of their college year, so they're going to need more support. Don't even have stuff for travel. Like, there's just too many things. There's also like, I take a lot of medication now, various things, and that was really worrying me. And there's quite a strict like routine around when I take things. So I was like, oh, this is just too much. Lovely idea, but no. And then by the end of that day, I was like, yes, I'm going. So I did like a whole sort of 180 of like, or 360, depending on how you want to look at it. Just like, oh, no, I just have to do this. I'm going to trust myself. Like, this feels like an exciting opportunity. And I was wanting to sort of come out of my hermit mode. So it was kind of the opportunity that just arose. And I was like, no, I'm going to go for it. And because Mary was running it as well, who's my VA for my business, I knew that I could trust her to like soothe my anxiety through the process. And because she is like the role model for making travel fun and exciting, and she just knows so much, I was like, this is a really, really safe way for me to do something that if I was doing it by myself or perhaps with family, all of that executive function burden would be on me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go with it. And I did. And it was literally the best thing I've done. Like, I can't even think of another thing that was so important to my sense of self-trust, and also like just like a real challenge in many ways, but like so, so worth it.
There's so many bits and bobs that I want to dive into there. But I feel like first we'll just talk about the like more about kind of the Yaycation just to give a bit more context
Yeah,
around it.
sure.
Because you were saying, it takes a lot of that executive function away. I honestly think that is one of the huge powers of the Yaycation.
Yeah.
The like not having to decide anything. I mean, yes, obviously we had input of, like, are we going to the activities, or like what kind of things might we want to do, or what are we eating and things like that. But actually just kind of knowing like what dates the trip is booked, where we're going to,
Yeah.
like a rough schedule for the week, what time we should be up and having breakfast. Like, there's
Yeah.
just so many things that make it feel like, even though it is a workation, so it's a blend of working and having fun and meeting other business owners. There's so many relaxing elements to it because you're thinking about so much less than you do at home.
Yeah. All of the stuff that might get in the way. I think that was what I really sort of saw in the opportunity was, just getting some space to be around other people. And I think one of the really important things for me was that nobody else on the vacation did the same thing as me.
Mm-hmm.
So I really got to see, all of the different sort of, in fact, a lot of very potential collaborative business styles, what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really useful to just kind of be myself, like not just in the therapy or the coaching spaces, which are wonderful. And they've been my home online, like the whole time I've run my business. Rarely meeting them in person actually at this time, but actually just, being around other people with a similar energy, with a similar like enthusiasm for like, not just independent business, but I think we had such aligned values. It was so nice to just like, we just got at each other, I think. So it was such a great opportunity to just be really authentic, not just in ourselves, like personally, but also like, the struggles we have with our business or the things we're really celebrating, and actually asking questions to, help each other. Like we were really supportive of each other in terms of like sharing our own experiences and seeing whether maybe opportunities in each other's business that from the inside we can't necessarily see. That was one of the really good things. And also just listening to you guys as well, like hearing your stories, hearing the challenges or the successes you had. Like, I mean, that's gold dust. It's so like, it brings so much enthusiasm, but also it like helps me to then think outside the box a little bit in terms of how can I do things different.
And I think that was probably an element of what made the trip so enticing, I guess, was you got to go as Fran, not as mum and like therapist. And like, yes, that's your job title and it's still part of who you are, but you just got to go there fully as like focusing on you and not what the house needs.
Exactly. And Holiday Fran was there.
Holiday Fran was the alter ego. Although I have to say, you are looking very Holiday Fran right now.
That's because I am wearing, in honor of Holiday Fran, I even have my stars here that I had on the holiday, which I got for my birthday before I even knew I was going. So yeah, I am wearing my Marrakech hoard. I am wearing my Marrakech kind of clothes. So yeah, I thought I'd inhabit Holiday Fran today in this.
Yeah. And also, just for everyone listening, to timestamp this, this is peak heat wave. We're recording this. Yes. I did message Fran earlier to say, are we still recording today, given we're both melting? And Fran has sacrificed her fan for the audio quality of this recording. So we're going to try not to yap too long, otherwise we may melt. But yeah, Holiday Fran is in full force today. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. And also because, it was so warm there. So this feels quite apt that we're talking about Marrakech whilst also being in very high temperatures. Just, it's a shame it's so humid compared to the lovely dry heat that was out there.
Yeah, we actually only have conversations in 30+ degree heat. Yeah. We don't communicate if the temperature drops below 30 degrees.
Oh, I have to do a winter chat just to see if we're any different.
We will. So the self-trust started before you even got on that plane.
Yes.
Was it motivated by your birthday? Was it something that was on your mind, or was it literally that email came through and you were like, whoa?
Yeah, good question. I think being my birthday kind of gave me permission to sort of be like,
Hmm.
You know what? I'm going to go with it. Not that I wouldn't, I think it was in the back of my mind anyway to sort of like stretch myself a little bit. And I think I've been talking to Mary, like we've been working together, I think it's like 3 years, about like, if I go anywhere, I'm definitely going to ask you to organise it for me. And I'd taken myself on a little solo retreat the year before out of desperation, to be quite honest, which I organised myself. And that was another self-trust thing. But with it kind of made me realise I would like to do something like that with other people. So it was kind of building gradually.
Mm.
But I think, yeah, being my birthday, I'm awkward about birthdays. I never quite know what to do on birthdays. Like I've spent a whole birthday in a spa by myself before because
Hmm.
it just meant that I could just focus on me and not have to do any of those other things. You know, I was just like, do you know what? I'd started to sort of build this holiday wardrobe as well by accident because suddenly all the colours and styles of things that I like were actually in the shops. And I was like, well, this doesn't happen very often. Often I'm like, oh, I don't like what's in there. So I was just like gradually building this sort of wardrobe of holiday things because I normally just live in dungarees all the time. That's my basic
Hmm.
uniform. And so when it like everything, like the stars aligned, everything came together. And I was just like, well, you know, apart from the bits that were like causing a bit of anxiety, I had started to sort of build towards the thing without knowing it was even going to happen. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was kind of intuitive, but also like, you know, destined in a way, I guess.
The phrase "the stars aligned" was literally going through my head just as you said
Mhm.
it. What was your partner and your kids' reaction? Were they like,
Yeah.
"Mum, what?"
No, it was so good actually, because they were both like all like, of course you should go. Like, we really want you to go and enjoy yourself. And I think there'd been a part of me that'd been quite envious of them being able to do. My partner was much more spontaneous than me. He always has like regular trips with his friends to go mountain biking. And I've always been a bit jealous, going, I'm the only one to go with, or I don't know what to do, or all of the things. So he was like, no, absolutely. Probably just because he wanted a break from me, to be honest. But, you know, it was kind of nice to just be really reassured that like everyone was really behind me. And so the kids, so my eldest kid was like right at the end of college and quite often have needed a bit of support to sort of bring things together at the end. And they're doing like a creative course. They're really into filmmaking and media and photography. And I was like, oh, I can't. It was right in the middle of that piece. But they were like, no, go for it. It's fine. And they had friends that were really supporting them. So it was like, okay, everything is like ticking off. And then, oh, but my clients, I've got clients booked in. And I thought, actually, I can at least see if we can move things around. And then they were fine. And it was just like, okay, everything has moved out of the way. Because I was also considering taking my laptop and having some client sessions, because I went a huge amount of them that week, actually from Marrakech. But then I was stressing about the laptop and packing and so eventually I just was like, no, I'm just going to clear the decks and I'm going to make it a space for me to just be, as you say, me and use that time to really reflect on what I want to do in my business going forward and all those things we've mentioned. And that's what I managed to do. It was like not just the stars aligning, but everything was like moving out of the way to let me go. And it was all green lights. So I was like, okay, let's just go.
I think it's amazing that everyone was so supportive.
Mm,
And it's, even though this is a story of self-trust initially,
yeah.
I don't know, has it also opened your eyes to kind of like, I don't actually have to do everything and be everything to everyone all the time because everyone
Yeah.
coped without you for those few days and it was okay to,
I know.
selfish is the wrong word, but it was
No,
okay
no,
to
it's
change.
so interesting. I think so many people struggle with that,
Yeah.
including myself. And I think it's really easy to get stuck into these roles that we fulfill and think like it's not possible to move out of them. And you can get like, you can actually get quite a lot of resentment thinking like, oh, the world will fall apart if I'm not there, or I'll have to pick the pieces up afterwards. And to some extent, there were things that were very predictable that I came back and I was like, well, I'm not surprised by that. I didn't care
Yeah.
because when I was there, just once I kind of left and I was on my own, initially, I was just like, I'm doing this now. I don't have to worry about any of those things. I know everyone will be fine. And it just gave me that headspace. And I remember whilst I was there, just thinking, I haven't really thought about them that much. Like I was keeping in contact, but it wasn't, I was like, no, they can deal with this themselves. Everyone will be okay. If there's any emergency, they'll let me know. But, you know,
Mhm.
it's not my job now. My job is to be me here with these people and to just experience this. And so, yeah, having that permission, like, I just really thought halfway through, I was like, oh, I don't want to, not that I don't want to go home, but I want to do this again.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a kind of like, oh, actually, no, I can do this. And it is so valuable just to have that space. It's wonderful.
It was like you were okay going home, but as long as Holiday Fran was going with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that she would be back out again
Yeah.
whenever there's an opportunity and when I've recovered financially a little bit from but I think mostly that was because there were so many things I needed, not just like because I needed them, but like actually to sort of support myself through that process of being anxious. And because I hadn't traveled, there were so many like practical things I needed to buy, with the whole, you have to have all your toiletries in certain size things and all of that stuff. And I'm a chronic overpacker as well. So that's, I learned so much about myself in terms of what do I actually need? What do I not need? What can I get away with?
Side note to the podcast listeners, when Fran says she's an overpacker, I can't deny that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Oh, I could go on so many different tangents out, but no, it was, I think literally on the last day, I gave everyone a pack of tissues and some lens cleaner wipes to make my suitcase a bit smaller.
We all got a little Holiday Fran goodie bag of things that no longer fit in the suitcase.
Yeah.
But speaking of overpacking and shopping and all the things, the self-trust challenges did not stop with buying your space on the trip, did they? Do you want to talk about, like, while we were there, some of the challenges you set yourself?
Yeah, so there was the work piece, but I think you could probably say it was quite an intense sort of self-development experience as well, because there were so many opportunities for me to reflect on who I was, in this group of people. There was a lot of really interesting stuff I was observing about myself. Much as I felt so comfortable with everyone, and I really felt I could lean into the support of everyone, it was such a genuinely caring space. I would also get things coming up thinking, am I being annoying? Because when I first arrived, I was like, I was meeting you and Ellie at the airport because we'd actually been on the same plane, but not met.
Hadn't realised we were sat 2 rows apart.
Yeah. I think at the time, like I was so torn. I wanted to meet you both before we flew, but I was also like, I just need to be by myself just so I can go through this process. And it was fine. But when I got the other end, I had all these plans. Like I needed to get cash out because you can only get the currency of Morocco in Morocco. So I couldn't pre-plan that. And when we got there, I was like, I couldn't get the SIM sorted either. I had bought an eSIM and it wasn't working, so I couldn't communicate with anyone. And then I was starting to get that panic rising of like, I'm here in a new country and I don't know anybody. And I could just feel the tears kind of rising, that sort of panicky, oh God. And then you and Ellie just shouted, so like, Fran, and you sort of scooped me up, got me in the transfer taxi. And immediately I was just like, oh, I just feel really cared for. And you guys were just so warm and welcoming and lovely. And immediately I was like, I'm here now. I've entered the AK.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
I'm so glad. And you really did push yourself with that trip. And every day on there, so for anyone who's not been to Marrakech or maybe doesn't know what it's like, the main centre is, the best word for it is chaos.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, and I felt that the people were really, really friendly on the whole. Like, it was a really welcoming and hospitable place. It was stunning, but chaos. And it was a lot to navigate for anyone.
Yeah.
Like, even if I went back now, I would still find it a lot. But knowing the challenges of you hadn't travelled in 19 years to then go straight to somewhere like that where, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you explored by yourself. You took every
on the
experience.
You're not lost in the suit.
No, to be fair, you didn't get lost in the suit. You got lost.
True. Getting home.
getting home from the souk.
I was just
You
round the
nailed
corner.
the souks. Yeah, you were. You were.
Again, that panic was rising because I was just like, I'm so hot. I'm regretting buying a Coke instead of a water because I'm dehydrating. And I kept getting so close to where we were, but it's such like, there's no like high up landmarks to sort of follow. It's like being in a maze. And I was so close to the riad, and every time I got close to it, I seemed to drift away again. So I was just like, no, I need to ask for help. I just was like, I'm just waiting here. I'd buy a lion. Please come and get me before I just die in the heat.
But I do think that is part of the journey, isn't it? Is
Mm.
knowing, like, you kind of like you discovered your own limits and you knew when you needed to ask for help and just
Yeah,
literally stop where you were and be like, no, actually, this is the time that
yeah,
I'm gonna have to get someone else to intervene.
yeah. Was this is enough now? Like I just had to surrender, which happened several times because that also was the experience in the hammam, which will go down in history as one of the best group bonding tasks or experiences to ever experience. And that deserves a podcast in itself, I think, as well.
Yeah, the hammam is one of those like, do we talk about it now? Like, we just keep the hammam memories in Marrakech?
Yeah.
But yeah, we all bonded for sure, for sure.
We do it. I think that's the thing, actually, if I think about what happened afterwards or like what the result of going was, not
Mm.
just like the sort of business stuff, the personal development stuff, but like what it taught me or what it kind of led into. I think I just kind of released, I think in that hammam, being scrubbed, being massaged, being like reborn is what it felt like. I feel like I did shed a lot of inhibitions, a lot of anxieties, like even just showing up here on this podcast. And I've just come off the back of Ellie's sprint as well, which I can never say what it is. It's the 3 Ls.
Live, laugh, law.
Yes, I
Shout
just could
out to
not.
Live, laugh, law.
Exactly. Again, a lovely group, but again, such amazing, open, authentic people. And again, some coaches, but like quite diverse business people. Um, so open and so authentic. So those and this opportunity now, like they would not have happened had I not gone, had I not trusted myself. I wouldn't be here doing this podcast. I wouldn't have done that for the last 21 days. And both of those things have really directly helped me to move forward in the things that I was wanting to do with my business and helped me to like bring ideas together, be validated actually in terms of what else I've got to offer outside of like what people experience in the one-to-one sort of setting. So it's been really like super valuable on so many levels for so many parts of myself. And I think whilst I was there, I wanted to ask people, like, how have you experienced me? We did lots of hot seating or cool pooling at times.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like be really open and say, like, how are people experiencing me? And everybody, including my partner, when I came out, really brave. And I was like, am I? Like, I couldn't necessarily connect to it myself because once I decided to do something, I'm committed, I'm doing the thing. But I hadn't let myself just realize like that it was a brave thing to do, and it was lovely to have that reflected and and actually lean into that a little bit more and think, well, if I'm brave in doing that, what else can I be brave about? What else can I expand into that maybe I've needed that sort of hermit mode and that reflective mode by myself for quite a long time, and now I'm ready to sort of experience other things, because that's the journey that I go on with my clients. And so I sometimes get a bit of imposter syndrome where I see my clients like making these amazing, courageous steps forward, whether it's therapy or coaching or whatever interaction I have with them. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not being that courageous. I'm not doing things, that are really stretching me. Or maybe I am, but they're just a lot smaller. So it's kind of really living or practicing what I preach, really. It was an opportunity to really
Yeah.
do that.
It's so we're all so rubbish at normalizing like our big achievements. And
Mm,
I do think like because you prepared yourself for it, and I suppose this one was a very practical thing that you had to do. Like the focus was more on, right, what do I need to buy? What do I need to pack?
hmm
That there wasn't necessarily time for that processing
Yeah.
until the end.
hmm
But But it is so important that we do that because, as you've very clearly just demonstrated, self-trust builds self-trust, doesn't it? It snowballs and
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
just leads to so much.
there's a term that I use a lot with my clients. I don't know if everyone is aware of it, but self-efficacy. And that's that trust in yourself to do hard things, essentially. And exactly as you said there, that snowball effect, like once you challenge yourself to do something that's scary or that you think, oh, I might not be able to do it, you risk failure or you risk the challenge of something that maybe you've been shying away from. It builds that confidence. It builds that, like, oh, if I can do this, what else might I be able to do? So I think it's so important. And I think thinking about the people that I work with, so many of us, and I include myself, like I live through this myself and I am living through it, but like so many of us feel so either underestimated because people judge us by the things we either can't do or we don't do very well or we feel shame for. But there's so much underneath that we perhaps don't even get to express or explore or like lean into because there's so much of life that gets in the way. And that's kind of really mirrored in the Yaycation, in that, as we both said, like not having to worry about a lot of those things meant that we could just fully show up and do the bits which are actually stretching us rather than like have all those building blocks that we need to work out as well along the way.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up? Because I feel like that might be a good segue into your...
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm just going to leave something in the fertile void because I'm challenging myself. So I kind of sort of spoke about earlier what's come of this trip. So one of the things I was talking about on the vacation was like, what can I do alongside? What can I do to wrap around the work I already do? And I've been exploring the idea of having a Substack. So using writing and maybe even using audio and video on there as well to connect with an audience that is quite intimate, not just on social media, which I've been kind of feeling like maybe I'll have to do eventually, but it felt a bit more relevant. So I'm kind of just at the starting point of bringing together my Substack. So this is kind of a bit of accountability to sort of say it here. Also, I think from that space, there may be some other things about kind of developing, which are more in that sort of community space. And also that really link into, you know, making space and encouraging that self-reflection and that kind of processing after something happens. It's still kind of emerging. It's in like embryo stage at the minute, but I'm really excited about where it might go. And so, yeah, I'm leaving myself in this podcast a bit of an accountability kind of poke.
Incredible.
I've said it out loud.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll make sure to put the link to your website and if there's anywhere else that you want to link to
Thank you.
in the show notes, and then everyone can follow along and check in on that progress as well.
Yeah, and I have to do it now because I said I am.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like this podcast has done that for a few people. Like it's been a sort of marker in time of this is where I am. Let's check in again in a few months. So I love that. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared, and yeah, just well done again on taking that trip because I mean, obviously it was so gorgeous to meet you, but it felt really special to be part of that group, and I'm sure you'll do more trips like it and you'll meet more groups and more wonderful new friends. But it felt like a real milestone to be part of, so that was really nice.
Thank you for making it so wonderful as part of like such a lovely landing space, all of you. I think I could just go on going on about it. In fact, part of my Substack, there will probably be a post about Marrakech in more detail as well.
Nice.
Definitely.
There is a lot to say, and it was a really gorgeous group. I think, you know, Mary attracts that kind of person, and I think that's what you've also got to trust with these things as well, that if you like the person organising it and you consider yourself a nice person, then the likelihood is that other people attracted to that opportunity are going to be of a similar nature.
Yeah. It's really good to have an aligned space where, and also it was quite a small group, which was good in sort of relative terms. Thank you.
Did you want to share a cheesy quote, life mantra, anything to sort of wrap up the episode?
Yeah, I had to think about that before. So what I'm gonna say is, like, whenever something is challenging that I'm going through, I always try and ask myself, what am I learning here? And
Right.
that really helps me to sort of, again, it's like that self-efficacy or that building, that snowballing. Like, it reminds me I've done other hard things before. You know, sometimes when you're in the middle of something, it can be like something really traumatic even. It can feel like, you know, the world's ending or like you're never going to get through it. But if you can just remind yourself that right now, yes, it's horrible. Yeah, you're not pretending. It's not like, you know, sticking a positive plaster over it and ignoring the horrendousness of what's actually happening, the reality. It's more
Yeah.
about there will be a time where I'll be able to reflect on this and I will learn so much about myself and about what I'm capable of and all that stuff. So yeah, just what am I learning here is really helpful. And also in a more sort of light-hearted way, sometimes I just think, oh, that's another thing for the emotional CV when I've got through something. Because it's just like, it builds who we are. Like all these things we go through, it connects us when we do talk about them when we're ready to. I
Yeah.
think those two things are just like so important to sort of steady yourself when you're going through something either hard or just challenging or scary, whatever it is.
I love those. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Well, I'm not going to witter on. I'm going to leave it there, leave those little golden nuggets with you. So I will be back in your ears next week. And please do go and follow Fran and keep your eye out for some more from her. Thank you so much, Fran.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Bye.